Welcome everyone to the final round of the Grenke Chess Freestyle Open 2025. We have Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces and he has already won the tournament with one round to spare. He's on 8 out of 8. But this is Magnus's golden opportunity to score 100%, making it 9 out of 9. But his opponent is the German number 1, Vincent Keymer. What a pairing this is for the last round of this event. It's simply spectacular because Magnus and Vincent were two players who were on the front banner of this entire tournament when it was being promoted, and now here they are facing off against each other in the final round. Of course, Magnus has won the event, but Vincent has a chance to finish second, and that would mean that he would qualify for the Las Vegas event. So there's a lot at stake for Vincent, and we all remember how their matchup in Weissenhaus went, where Vincent managed to beat Magnus. And if there is someone who plays freestyle chess as good as Magnus Carlsen, or maybe even better that happened in Weissenhaus, it is Vincent Keymer. So today is going to be a brilliant encounter, and there we see the position has been drawn and Vincent is placing the pieces. So is Magnus. We have some kids standing there looking at what's happening. We have Jan Henrik Buettner behind Magnus Carlsen, the founder of freestyle chess. Tremendous amount of things happening here, and will be very exciting to follow this game. The players adjust their pieces. Vincent is already thinking about what Magnus's first move is going to be. It's not at all easy in freestyle chess to know what they will play. They have to free roll, and here they go. Handshake. The clock has started and we are ready to rock and roll. Let's have a look at the pieces here and try to understand what the first move is going to be. We have the knight, bishop, rook, queen, knight, king, bishop and rook. D4 by Magnus. He opens up the queen here and he asks Vincent, what are you going to do? F6, opening up your bishop. B6, maybe. D5 says Vincent, I'm going symmetrical here. Just simple chess. And now Magnus has to decide next. This is a very interesting position, because we only have two pieces which started off on the same square as a normal chess game, queen and the rook. Knight comes out to b3, looking at the c5 square. Vincent goes f6. Now this opens up the bishop, and maybe with c6 he will open up the other bishop as well. Magnus moves the same piece twice in the opening. Now this rule of chess remains the same in freestyle as well, that don't keep moving your same piece twice in the opening. But Magnus has a threat. He's trying to threaten the b7 pawn. And Vincent simply defends it with his knight. He goes knight to d6. And maybe next move he's simply going to kick the knight away with b6. Magnus goes h4. He's making use of the rook being here, trying to activate it. This is something that Magnus has always spoken about, that when your rook is on this square, push your rook pawns. a5 by Vincent. He's gaining space on the queen side, and maybe in some ways he's trying to go b6 so that knight a6 doesn't win the bishop. Bishop h2 played, now threatening to take the knight and then the pawn. And Vincent goes b6. Now, if you go knight a6, bishop a7, it's quite scary because your knight is trapped. But perhaps this is the way in which Magnus had to go, because once he plays knight to d3, Vincent already has a very nice position. He can actually push his pawn in the center of the board and gain more space, and he does exactly that. Magnus already after 6 moves, slightly worse with the white pieces. This is turning into a very exciting struggle now. Magnus decides to bolster his center with c3, and in doing so, he's also opening up his bishop here. The knight can also move away at some point and try to put pressure on the d5 pawn. Vincent pushes forward with c4, again the best move in the position. His idea now is that he wants to continue playing on the queen side. b5, b4 are his plans. Knight comes out to f4, putting pressure on the d5 pawn. And now Vincent is thinking, he goes b5, which is again the best move. For Magnus to create play, he needs to start playing in the center. f3, e4 looks like a good plan. He does go f3. It's a good move. He wants to break in the center with e4. And e5, a very, very dangerous decision by Vincent. Well, he could have played just knight b6, defending the pawn here, but he sees some tactical opportunity. He plays e5. Now the natural question to ask is, after take, isn't the d5 pawn hanging because the queen and knight attack it and only the bishop defends it? Well, Magnus takes the pawn. D takes e5. Vincent chops it off back. Now the knight is attacked. But also, you have to look at the queen which has opened up against the pawn. Magnus says, I don't mind giving up that pawn. I'm taking the pawn on d5. He's taken it with his knight. Black's queen now can chop off the pawn. Which pawn was more important, the d5 pawn or the h4 pawn? Time will tell. Now the best move for white is g4. It's a very, very pretty move. Magnus finds it. Such a beautiful move here by Magnus. He's making space for his king to come to g2 so that the rook is protected and the bishop can move. But Vincent threatens mate in one. Nothing less, nothing more. There's this move, knight b6, very pretty. If you take here, queen d6 check. But Magnus decides to play e3, which is also fine. He blocks the bishop here. The knight protects the pawn. If you take on d5, I take back and then I attack this knight on d6. Vincent plays the best move, queen h6. But in doing so, look at his time. He has 31 minutes on the clock. Magnus has an hour on the clock. The queen now goes back and maybe can come to e6, also putting pressure on the e3 point. King goes to g2 and Magnus is now threatening bishop takes e5, attacking the rook here, attacking the queen with his rook. And the best move for Vincent is to move his queen away to e6. Vincent finds again the best move. He plays queen to e6. This is actually a battle between two really highly skilled freestyle chess players, and hence we are getting some high quality moves. e4 by Magnus, cementing his knight, as Peter Lecco would say, cemento in the center with that knight on d5. What will Vincent do next? Wow, he goes knight to c7. He challenges the knight here in the center of the board, and he's threatening actually. Knight takes d5, pawn takes, queen takes, and there is this bishop hanging behind there. Bishop takes d5, you can take it back. Magnus plays knight to c2. He's ready to give up material. How is that even possible? Take. Well, this looks like you are pawn up, but then rook cd1 and suddenly you lose a piece. That's why Magnus has the courage to play knight c2. And now Vincent, what is his move going to be? He's thinking here, and a great move, by the way, here is to push h5. Another great move is long castle. It's such a tough move to play long castle here because your king is going to be exposed. Magnus gets up from his chair. He's confident about his position. He has 50 minutes on the clock. Vincent is low on time than Magnus, but his accuracy has been pretty good here. What is Vincent thinking? Is he planning to long castle? Think about it, guys. Long castle. The king is completely exposed here, but the rook comes into the game and white pieces cannot really attack the king. And then the rook would be defending the d6 knight. So actually you would be threatening to pick up a pawn here. That's the thing. And I love how Vincent is taking his time for his move. Maybe he's also wondering if he can get the move h5, because h5 opens up the white king. If takes here, then basically things really open up. Take, already queen f6. This would be so bad. Vincent getting ready for the move. He's now absolutely zoned in. He has to make a move pretty quickly. He cannot take so much time. But even Vincent knows that if he plays this well, he'll get a good position. He removes the king from there and long castles. This is now full on war here. Magnus comes back and plays his knight to e3. An excellent move, because if you take bishop e3, I'll simply take back with the knight. There's no good discovered attack. Maybe knight e4 possible, but I'll just simply move the queen. It doesn't really work. So that's the reason why Vincent goes queen e8. Maybe there was a better move than queen e8. h5 was a better move, but he goes queen e8 here. Magnus writes down his move. And he moves his queen away from the d file. He plays queen to e2. And Vincent now takes the knight. Knight takes knight. I believe you will take back with the knight. That seems like the best move, to plonk the other knight right into the center of the board. Yes, he does. Knight takes d5. And now h5. Beautiful chess by Vincent. He has 18 minutes on the clock. Magnus has 42 minutes. So time is the only thing that Vincent has to care about, because his position is really great. Bishop g3 played by Magnus. And of course you can't take it right now. The rook is hanging here on h8. So maybe it's time to get the bishop out into the game. And Vincent does it. Bishop e6 on the board. Yes, he's giving up the e5 pawn. But then after hg4, it is opening up the white king. Magnus actually has some tough decisions to make. He pushes the pawn to g5 in the hope to keep the position closed. And Vincent maybe now is threatening to take bishop e5. Well, rook d7 played. What's this move actually? Now if bishop e5, oh my god, you have knight f7. What a move. And if bishop goes back, then bishop takes and you can't take anymore. That was deep. So Magnus decides to defend his knight with his rook. And Vincent now plays h4, giving up a pawn. Bishop takes h4 played by Magnus. He's taken that pawn and he's telling Vincent, what's your compensation, my friend? Well, Vincent says queen d8. And here are the tricks in the position now. Rook takes rook, queen takes pawn. Possible. Very much so. Why not? The other idea is that bishop cannot move anymore because g5 hangs. So he plays queen e1, defending the bishop on h4. And rook h5 played here. So the idea of this move, rook h5, is to maybe just get the queen in, double up here, maybe even g6, rook h7. Magnus goes queen g3. And Vincent, down to his last 30 seconds, blunders here with knight f5. The position was heating up. Queen e8 was the best move, but he goes knight f5. And the problem is, I can simply take the knight. ef5. I mean, Vincent felt that he can take the knight on d5. That's the reason why he's played this move. But somehow the tactics are not working in his favor. And you can see Magnus really spotting it. He takes the knight. He takes f5 on the board. And now if rook d5, I mean bishop d5, if played, there are so many moves. g6 simply attacking the queen. So he decides to take with the rook. And yeah, if you take the bishop, I can take on d1. And black is completely fine. So the best move now is to take rook takes d5. He takes rook takes d5. Bishop takes d5 has been played. But now Magnus finds another brilliant move, queen g4. He attacks the rook, also threatens f6. And remember, Vincent had given up a pawn. So he's actually a pawn down. And you can see Vincent's sacrifice there hasn't worked at all. Bishop f7. The material is still okay. He's just a pawn down. But he is worse in a big way now. g6 attacking the queen and also the bishop is super powerful. But Magnus has to be careful about the black queen coming in to d2 to give a check. But he does play g6. It's a powerful move, attacking the bishop. And now queen to d2 check. King goes to h3. Very nicely played by Magnus there. And there are no more checks here in the position. This is hanging, so is the rook. So he has to give up an exchange. Magnus very quickly takes it back with the queen. It's all about tricks now for Vincent Keymer. If he manages to create some tricks in the position, he would be able to survive. But otherwise, he's completely lost. He goes bishop d5, attacking the pawn here on f3. Magnus takes a sip of water and he's wondering what to do. He plays his bishop to e4 right into the center of the board. The bishop is well placed and after takes, he can take back with the queen. So he takes, and now very important not to take with the pawn, because if you take with the pawn, this is already a perpetual with queen h6 and so on. So that's the reason why Magnus of course takes queen takes e4, and you can see the time management of Magnus Carlsen. It's been brilliant. He has 8 minutes on the clock. Queen h6 by Vincent. Some final checks in the position. Maybe queen h4 just blocking here is a winner. He just wins the game, but also moving the king to g2 should be completely fine. Magnus plays it. King g2 on the board. He brings his king back. And he's getting close to that immaculate performance of 9 out of 9. Which may well be one of the most brilliant performances in recent times in the chess world that we have seen. He brings the queen in. Queen g4. A check comes on d2 and you can play king h3, but then there will be another check. So Magnus does it very beautifully. He goes king g3. He's not afraid of this check, queen on f2, because king h3 and there are no more checks. Also the bishop check doesn't help because you go king h3 and if there is a check here, you simply come back and there is no more checks. So therefore he goes king c7 now, Vincent. And Magnus can simply push the pawn forward if takes g7, g8, queen. Yes, he does it. f6 on the board. And this is a powerful move by Magnus. And Vincent now gives a check with the bishop. Well, important to play king h3. He plays it. Vincent brings his bishop back to c5. Well, it's not really helping him too much here. I mean, f takes g7 just does the trick. f g7, queen h6, king g2. He takes f g7, queen h6 check. He comes back. King to g2, gives another check. And I like this little triangulation, go with your king here, then go here, and then come back. And in that doing so, black's coordination is broken up. And there's no perpetual. So king g3 played. And now if bishop f2, there is king h3, queen h6, there's king g2 back. And there are no more checks. Magnus is winning here. Vincent Keymer really played well in the first half of the game, but then with time running low and Magnus's super sharp accuracy, he blundered and there has been nothing much that he could do. After that, he resigns. Magnus Carlsen wins the tournament. Of course, he had won it before the round, but now does so in brilliant style. 9 out of 9, unbeaten, undefeated, no draws, a performance of close to 3200 elo. Magnus has done it here, and they are now discussing about the position. You can see Vincent there. Really, he must be unhappy, he must be gutted with this, but still he is in his element. He's happy that he reached here, on the first board in the last round, and it was a great game of chess. Losing to Magnus is no shame, but Magnus Carlsen wins the Grenke Open freestyle chess with some scintillating moves. And congratulations to the man who is called the GOAT by many and may well become the GOAT in the world of chess, accepted by one and all.